They say the difference between good and great is in the details. Well, I'm adding details and weathering to a scratch-built feed store on Ron's Trains and Things right now. Hi everybody, I'm Ron of Ron's Trains and Things, and today I'm bringing you the third and final installment in my scratch building project for Eric Hall's IMRRO.com Big Build Contest version 2. I encourage you to check out Eric's channel and all of the entries in the Big Build Contest on YouTube at IMRRO.com. I've been building Barron Brothers Farm and Garden in Bowie, Texas. Today I'm going to be weathering and adding some details to the structure that I think are really going to bring it to life. And then I'll show you exactly how it fits into my layout. Well, I can't wait to show you the finished product, so let's get started. To detail this structure, I began with this reference photo that I printed off of Google Earth. The freight door on the east end of the building is accessed by this loading ramp. The tall sign and rooftop sign I built from styrene scraps from my scrap box. And all of the sign graphics I printed from pictures I had taken or graphics I found on the internet. There are a number of pallets of bags, mostly gardening materials I'm sure, sitting on the dock. I modeled these and some figures to make the business look more like it was active and alive. You can also see some pallets of sacked feed inside of this open door. I modeled this detail as well. Notice that the paint on the structure is only lightly weathered, but the concrete foundation and dock are more heavily weathered. There's some obvious spillage on the pavement in front of the dock, as well as oil stains and other weathering on the parking lot. I had already given the structure a light dusting of gray with my airbrush to highlight details and tone down the stark white paint. Here I used artist pastels, taking a piece of 400 grit sandpaper and sanding off a bit of black, dark brown, and rust. I used a soft, round paintbrush to apply the pastel powder. Starting with the black, I applied some general weathering to the foundation, dock, and parking lot. On the parking lot, I tried to make the streaks of black in such a way as to simulate tire tracks. I also added some black streaks to the white paint. The weathering on the white paint looked pretty stark when I first did it, but this should tone down later when I seal it with dull coat. I added some streaks to the walls in places where I plan to put piles of junk, and on the back of the building, as you see here, I put some streaks along and below the freight door. I used the dark brown to simulate spillage on the pavement in front of the dock and areas where I put piles of junk. I then used the rust color to put some rust streaks below the awning support posts and the exposed freight door corners and the ends of the rolling tracks. With the pastels in place, I sealed it with Tester's dull coat from a rattle can. The dull coat didn't tone down the weathering on the white as much as I expected, but I touched it up by dry brushing it with some more white until I was happy with the look. To add detail, I used these stacks of sacks from N-Scale Architect and these 55-gallon drums from Micro Engineering. I used a file to remove any flash and to clean them up, and then I hand painted them using various colors of paint. I built the freight ramp from 40,000th styrene. It has an 8-foot square landing at the top and a 12-foot ramp with a 1-foot tall safety wall around the perimeter. When it was assembled, I filled the gaps with Model Master's red putty and sanded it smooth when it was dry. I had to extend the parking lot to provide access to the ramp, and I painted and weathered the extra piece of parking lot and the ramp much as I had done the rest of the parking lot earlier. I went to my scrap box and found some pieces of styrene rod and 20,000th styrene sheet from which I built my signs. The graphics for the signs I cut from photographs that I scanned into my computer and printed out on regular paper, and I glued them to the signs using regular white glue. Used bits of styrene rod to make supports for the rooftop sign. And I placed the wall-mounted sign with the Purina checkerboard above the office door, as there was no room beside the door as was on the prototype building. I detailed the structure with these stacks of sacks and barrels that I had painted. And I used some figures that I already had on hand to give the scene a sense of life. This worker pushing a hand cart, this customer carrying a large box out of the office door, and this Atlas pickup with a passenger opening the door really give the building a sense of activity, like you could just step into the scene. And here is my weathered and detailed Barron Brothers Farm and Garden. The tall sign will go up next to the end of the building. The parking lot doesn't set quite level on my turntable, but it does when it's on the layout. I am very happy with my truncated version of this feed store. I really think that even with selective compression, I've captured the overall impression of this structure very well, and the details really pop and make it come to life. The rear side of this building will rarely be seen on my layout, but if you do see it, it'll have some nice detail. This end of the building will eventually have some for sale items like livestock feeders and panels and fencing in a fenced-in area, but that will come in a later project. And here is Barron Brothers on my layout. To the right, you see a temporary version of Mason Street, and in the background, you see Bowie, Texas. As you see, the main line runs right in front of my version of Barron Brothers, with the spur track that feeds it running behind. And to make it official, here is the label for the IMRRO.com Big Build Contest Version 2, 2017. Thanks, Eric Hall, for sponsoring this contest and for inspiring me not only to build the structure, but to get my YouTube channel up and running at the same time. You know, having grown up on a farm, Barron Brothers reminds me of a lot of places that I used to go as a kid. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed this project so much. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you can click on the thumbs up right down below and let me know. If you haven't seen the first two installments of this series, you can check out the iCard up in the upper right-hand corner of this video, and you'll find a link to videos 1 and 2. I hope that you'll subscribe to my channel, and then you'll get to see all of my videos as they come out, and if you click on that little bell, you'll get a notification every time I upload a new video. Of course, one of my favorite features is down at the very bottom of the page where you can comment or ask a question about this video. I read all of your comments and I always respond. I love to hear from you, so please share a comment, ask a question. You might know other people who would enjoy these videos, and if so, you could share this on Facebook, on your Twitter feed, or other social media, and they can enjoy these videos as well. Finally, if you look at that expanded description right down below this video, you can find more information about my layout, the Texas, Colorado, and Western. You can find out how to check out the Facebook page that I have dedicated to my layout, and also how you can support Ron's Trains and Things through Patreon or PayPal Me. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks again for watching, and be sure to catch future episodes as they come out, and I look forward to seeing you then.